No, they didn't spell it right. But it's a new zig. You ever seen an old zig? Now I've seen a new zig. Okay. I'm a Navy brat. Been in Georgia since 1980. Met Mr. Sam here when we were in high school. I joined the National Guard when I was 17 while I was still in high school. Switched a year later to the Navy where I became a naval nuclear reactor operator. I've owned several businesses and run several IT departments. I currently own Jackpot Software off of Salem Road. And I'm very honored to be here today. Speaking after those two, I feel a little bit intimidated. My passion is education and job creation, and they hit the nail on the head. Our rights are being sold away with our own money, and that's just embarrassing. And I've come to, I'm running for office to help stop that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Anuszczyk, and I won't tell them all the bad things I know about this. For the record, Carl and I have known each other since high school. Start off, this year Governor Deal vetoed the Religious Liberty Bill. One of the objectives of this bill was to protect the leaders of the faith-based community from legal liability of performing marriages that may be in conflict with their core religious beliefs. Do you believe the General Assembly should revisit this bill? If so, what should be put into the bill supporting our faith-based community?
Good question. I really haven't read the bill myself, so I'm a little bit just unarmed in that department. I will go back and read it, and surely if it comes up again, I'll read it. But I will say this. Our constitutional rights are already set in stone. We shouldn't have to write bills to help support those. They stand by themselves. Religious liberty is just what it is. It's our right to free speech. It's our right to freedom of religion, and I stand behind that 100%.
Thank you.
Just come straight down here. Yes, sir. What is your position on legalization of marijuana, medical, recreational, or both? And what challenges does Georgia face with that stance?
It's a good question. I have looked up a couple of pros and cons regarding that. There's lots of pros. In particular, is medical, which a lot of people stand behind, and I do too. I know people personally that have benefited from its use. As far as recreational, I'm kind of leaning against that. I've seen it. I've seen what it has done to Colorado. Because the federal guidelines right now prohibits, it's illegal as far as federally. They can't run the money through banks. If you can't run the money through banks, how do you accept money for it? It's cash. With cash, you have a lot of crime, and that's what they're seeing in Colorado right now. Is a lot of crime. They have armed guards at these stores. There's some hurdles there that need to be overcome.
Yes, thank you very much.
Okay, here's a long one. Funding education in Georgia is an ongoing concern for the General Assembly. While funding education comes from many sources, the Georgia Constitution gives the local district the responsibility of levying school taxes on the district's property owners. Across the state, these tax rates vary wildly depending on the local digest and the local school boards. There are a handful of districts that, through local legislation, are allowed to exceed the tax rate set by the state constitution. Since 1965, Rockdale has been one of these districts. Would you support legislation that would offer a referendum that would amend the state constitution so that all school districts fall under the same maximum rate?
Yeah, the question was asked earlier to a couple of the other comments. And quite frankly, I will have to go back and revisit that. I don't have a good answer for that at all at this point. I will say that a lot of the money that's being spent isn't where it needs to be. I have 3 children of my own. I have 3 grandchildren. I'm raising 3 of my grandchildren right now. And I've had to place them in private homeschool care or put them in private schools because the education is just not, whatever dollars we are spending is just not being spent well. After a year of being in a homeschool, my two grandsons have gone from a zero learning, they didn't even know their alphabet at 9 and 10 years old, to 4th grade reading levels. So we know with the dollars, if they're spent better, if they're better allocated, if we allow the teachers to teach instead of teaching to test, we start teaching to skills, then I think we'll be doing our kids a greater justice.
Thank you, sir. Governor Deal vetoed the campus carry bill. This is a bill that would allow Georgia weapons carry license holders the ability to protect themselves while on college campuses. Do you support allowing licensed individuals to carry firearms while on college campuses? And what changes would you see are added to this bill, if any?
Well, as I said, I joined the National Guard at 17. 17, I threw hand grenades, shot M60s, fired M16s, with only a few weeks of training. Because you might go to the Army, basic training. They don't give you a lot of training, but you're given that particular responsibility. Then you're shipped off to fight and defend our country. All we're asking these students to do is at 21 years of age, at which time I was operating a reactor, we're asking them to just do a simple background check, which takes 15 minutes. And as our Georgia House Speaker said, David Ralston, at a time when our Second Amendment rights are under attack, I believe and still believe that it's very important that we do all that is necessary and proper to strengthen our constitutional protections. Georgians should not be required to give up their constitutional rights when they set foot on a college campus. So to answer your question, I fully disagree with Nathan Deal. I think we should have passed that. I think our college students have every right as citizens to defend themselves.
Thank you. Closing statements? You have 2 minutes.
2 minutes. Okay. I appreciate the time and opportunity. I appreciate the effort of these two gentlemen. They really helped me a lot. Education, jobs, that's our statewide problem right now. You can't separate the two. Our education level is morbidly pitiful. We have kids coming out of high school that can't read. I remember an article back in the 70s on the news when a kid came out, she couldn't tell the news reporter what 2 + 2 was, and we thought that was a problem. Now it's the norm. We have kids coming out of there that can't use a jigsaw. They don't know how to use a handsaw. They can't even swing a hammer. They have no idea what they're going to do when they come out of high school. I've talked to many educators, I've talked to some high school students, and they all agree with me. They have no, what if they're going to join the military? Oops, they can't, because they can't read, they can't pass the tests. Coming out of high school, that's a national embarrassment, that's a Georgia embarrassment. As your representative, I will strive to correct that problem. I agree with the two senators, candidates, that we need to repeal, get rid of Common Core. That's a joke. We need to let teachers teach across the board. It's all I hear. Let teachers teach. Quit trying to tell them on this day you need to do this thing. Take them outside. Show them what a tree is. Show them how to use a jigsaw. And all these things are possible. I've proven it with my own grandchildren and other people. 30% of our school teachers put their own kids in private schools. That should tell you something. And this isn't to scare anyone, this is just a fact. And I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
What are you running for? What position?
House 91.
House 91.
Thank you, sir.